After these things, in the 4th year of this week, on the new moon of the 3rd month, the word of Yahuwah came to Abram in a dream, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am your defender, and your reward will be exceedingly great. And he said, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, what will you give me, seeing I go hence childless, and the son of Mesech, the son of my handmaiden, is a Damascan Eleazar. He will be my heir. And to me you have given no seed. And he said unto him, This man will not be your heir, but one that will come out of your own generation, he will be your heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said unto him, Look towards heaven and number the stars, if you are able to number them. And he looked towards heaven, and behold the stars. And he said unto him, So shall your seed be. And he believed in Yahuwah, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am Yahuwah that brought you out of Ur of the Chassidim to give you the land of Canaan, to possess it forever. And I will be Elohim unto you and your seed after you. And he said, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me a heifer of 3 years, and a goat of 3 years, and a sheep of 3 years, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon. And he took all those in the middle of the month, and he dwelt in the oak of Mamre, which is near Hebron. And he built there an altar, and sacrificed all these. And he poured their blood upon the altar, and divided them in the midst, and laid them over against each other. But the birds divided he not. And the birds came down upon the pieces, and Abram drove them away, and he did not suffer the birds to touch them. And it came to pass, when the sun had set, that the ecstasy fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And it was said that Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall bring them into bondage and afflict them 400 years. And the nation also to whom they will be in bondage I will judge. And after that they shall come forth hence with a much substance. And you shall go to your fathers in peace, and be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall return hither, for the iniquity of Amorim is not yet full. And he awoke from his sleep, and he arose, and the sun had set, and there was a flame, and behold, a furnace was smoking, and a flame of the fire between the pieces. And on that day Yahuwah cut a covenant with Abram, saying, To your seed will I give this land, from the river of Metzar unto the great river Parath, and Kenayim, and Kenazim, and Kadomnim, and Perazim, and the Raphaim, and Paraquim, and Shebarim, and Amorim, and Kenaanim, and the Girgashim, and Veshusim. And the day passed, and Abram offered the pieces, the birds, and their fruit offerings, and their drink offerings, and fire devoured them. And on that day we cut a covenant with Abram, according as we had covenanted with Noah in this month. And Abram renewed the feast and ordinances for himself forever. And Abram rejoiced, and made all these things known to Sarai his woman. And he believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. And Sarai advised her Abraham man, and he said to him, Go unto Hagar, my Mitzri maid. It may be that I shall build up seed unto you by her. And Abram hearkened unto the voice of Sarai his woman, and said unto her, Do so. And Sarai took Hagar her maid, the Mitzrayim, and gave her unto Abraham her man, to be his woman. And he went unto her, and she conceived and bore him a son, and he called his name Yishmael, in the 5th year of this week, and this was the 86th year in the life of Abram. And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Abram celebrated the feast of firstfruits in the grain harvest. And he offered new offerings on the altar, the first fruit of produce unto Yahuwah, a heifer and a goat, and a sheep on the altar as a burnt sacrifice unto Yahuwah. Their first offerings and their drink offerings he offered upon the altar with frankincense. And Yahuwah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell upon his face, and Elohim talked with him and said, Behold, my ordinance is with you, and you shall be father of many nations. Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, but your name from henceforth, even forever, shall be Avraham. For the father of many nations have I made you, and I will make you very great, and I will make you into all nations, and kings shall come forth from you, and I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you throughout their generations for an eternal covenant, so that I may be Elohim unto you and to your seed after you, and unto the land where you have been a sojourner, the land of Canaan, and that you may possess it forever, and I will be their Elohim. And Yahuwah said to Abraham, As for you, do you guard my covenant, you and your seed after you, and circumcise ye every male among you, and circumcise your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of an eternal covenant between me and you. And the child on the 8th day, ye shall circumcise every male throughout your generations, him that is born in the house, or whom ye have bought with money from a stranger, whom you have acquired, who is not of your seed. And he that is born in your house shall surely be circumcised, and those whom you have bought with money shall be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an eternal ordinance. And the uncircumcised male, who is not circumcised in flesh of his foreskin on the 8th day, that soul shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for Sarai your woman, her name shall no more be called Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her and give you a son by her, and I will bless him, and he shall become a nation, and kings of nations shall proceed from him. And Abram fell upon his face and rejoiced, and said in his heart, Shall a son be born to him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bring forth? And Abram said unto Elohim, Oh, that Ishmael might live before you. And Elohim said, Yea, and Sarah also shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Yiskah. And I will establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant, and for his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, also have I heard you. And behold, I will bless him, and make him great, and multiply him exceedingly. And he shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Yiskah. From Sarah shall bear to you in these days, in the next year. And he left of speaking with him, and Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham did accordingly as Elohim had said unto him. And he took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and whom he had bought with his money, every male in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin. And on the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and all the men of his house, and all those whom he had bought with money from the children of the stranger were circumcised with him. This Torah is for all the generations forever, and there is no circumcision of the days, and no omission of one day out of the 8 days, for it is an eternal ordinance ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. And everyone that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, belongs not to the children of the covenant which Yahuwah made with Abraham, but to the children of destruction, nor is there moreover any sign on him that he is Yahuwah's, but he is destined to be destroyed and slain from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth, for he has broken the covenant of Yahuwah Eloheinu. For all the angels of the presence and for all the angels of sanctification have been so created from the day of their creation. And before the angels of the present and the angels of sanctification, he has sanctified Yisrael, that they should be with him and with his holy angels. And do you command the children of Yisrael, and let them observe the signs of his covenant for their generations as an eternal ordinance, and they will not be rooted out of the land. For the commandment is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among all the children of Yisrael. For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, Yahweh did not cause to approach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them, but he chose Yisrael to be his people, and he sanctified it and gathered it from among all the children of men, for there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his, and over all his placed ruach and authority to lead them astray from him. But over Yisrael he did not appoint any angel or ruach, for he alone is their ruler, and he will guard them and require them at the hand of his angels and his ruach and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may guard them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever. And now I announce to you that the children of Yisrael will not guard true to his ordinances, and they will not circumcise their sons according to all this Torah. For in the flesh of their circumcision, they will omit his circumcision of their sons, and all of them, sons of Belial, will leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born. And there will be great wrath from Yahweh against the children of Yisrael, because they have forsaken his covenant and turned aside from his word and provoked and blasphemed, insomuch as they do not observe the ordinance of his Torah. For they have treated their members like the other nations, so that they may be removed and rooted out of the land. And there will no more be pardon or forgiveness unto them that should be forgiveness and pardon for all the sins of this eternal error. And on the new moon of the 4th month, we appeared unto Abraham at the oak of Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that a son would be given to him by Sarah, his woman. And Sarah laughed, for she heard that we had spoken these words with Abram, and we admonished her, and she became afraid and denied that she had laughed on account of the words. And we told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in heavenly tablets, that is Yitzchak. And that when we returned to her at a set time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month, Yahuwah executed his judgment on Sodom and Amorah and Tesavim and all the regions of the Yarden, and he burned them with fire and brimstone, and destroyed them until this day, even as, lo, I have declared unto you all their works, that they are wicked and sinners exceedingly, and that they defile themselves and commit fornication in their flesh, and work uncleanness on the earth. And in like manner, Elohim will execute judgment on the places where they have done according to uncleanness of the Sodomine, like unto the judgment of Sodom. But Lot we saved, for Elohim remembered Abram and set him out from the midst of the overthrown. And he and his daughters committed sin upon the earth, such as had not been on the earth since the days of Adam till his time. For the man lay with his daughters, and behold, it was commanded and engraven concerning all his seed on the heavenly tablets, to remove them and root them out, and to execute judgment upon them like judgment of Sodom, and to leave no seed of the man on earth on the day of condemnation. And in this month, Abraham moved from Hebron and departed and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur in the mountains of Gerar. And in the middle of the 5th month, he moved from thence and dwelt at the well of the oath. And in the middle of the 6th month, Yahweh visited Sarah and did unto her as he spoken, and she conceived. And she bore a son in the 3rd month, and in the middle of the month, at the time which Yahweh had spoken to Abraham on the feast of the firstfruits of the harvest, Yitzchak was born, and Abraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant which is ordained forever. And on the 6th year of the 4th week, we came to Abraham to the well of the oath, and we appeared unto him as we had told Sarah that we should return to her, and she would have conceived a son. And we returned in the 7th month and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him, and we announced to him all the things which had been decreed concerning him, that he should not die until he should be 6 sons more, and should see them before he died. But that Yitzchak should his name and seed be called, and that all the seeds of his sons should be the other nations, and be reckoned with the other nations. But from the sons of Yitzchak, one should become a holy seed, and should not be reckoned among the other nations. For he should become the portion of El Elyon, and all his seed had fallen unto the possession of Elohim, that it should be unto Yahweh a people for his possession above all nations, and that it should become a kingdom and priest and a holy nation. And we went away, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, and they both rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And he built there an altar to Yahweh, who had delivered him, and who was making him rejoice in the land of sojourning. And he celebrated a feast of joy in this month 7 days near the altar which had built at the wall of the oath. And he built Succoth for himself and for his servants on this feast. And it was the first to celebrate the feast of Succoth on that earth. And during these 7 days, he brought each day to the altar a burnt offering to Yahweh, 2 oxen, 2 rams, 7 sheep, 1 he-goat for a sin offering, that he might atone thereby for himself and for his seed. And as a thank offering, 7 rams, 7 kids, 7 sheep, and 7 goats, and their first fruit offerings, and their drink offerings. And he burnt all the fat thereof on the altar, a chosen offering unto Yahweh for a sweet smelling savor. And morning and evening he burnt fragrances, frankincense, galbanum, and sakti, and nard, and myrrh, and spice, and custom. All these 7 he offered, crushed, mixed together in equal parts, and pure. And he celebrated this feast during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his soul, he and those who were in his house, and there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. And he blessed his Creator who had created him in his generation, for he had created him according to his good pleasure. For he knew and perceived that from him would arise the plant of righteousness for the eternal generations, and from the holy seed, so that it should become like him who had made all things. And he blessed and rejoiced, and he called the name of the feast of Yahuwah, for a joy acceptable to El Elyon. And we blessed him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated his feast in its season, according to the testimony of the heavenly tablets. For this reason it is ordained on the heavenly tablets concerning Yisrael, that they should celebrate the feast of Succoth 7 days with joy, in the 7th month, acceptable before Yahuwah, a statute forever throughout their generations every year. And to this there is no limit of days, for it is ordained forever regarding Yisrael, that they should celebrate it and dwell in Succoth, and set wreaths upon their head, and take lofty boughs and willows from the brook. And Abram took branches of palm trees and the fruit of goodly trees, and every day going round the altar with the branches 7 times a day in the morning, he praised and gave thanks to his Elohim for all these in joy. And in the 1st year of the 5th week, Yitzchak was weaned in this Jubilee, and Abram made a great banquet in the 3rd month on the day his son Yitzchak was weaned. And Yishmael, the son of Hagar, the Mitzri, was before the face of Abraham, his father, in his place. And Abraham rejoiced and blessed Elohim because he had seen his sons and had not died childless. And he remembered the words which he had spoken to him on the day on which Lot had parted from him. And he rejoiced because Yahweh had given him seed upon the earth to inherit the earth. And he blessed with all his mouth the Creator of all things. And Sarah saw Ishmael playing and dancing with Abraham, rejoicing with great joy. And she became jealous of Ishmael and said to Abraham, "Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman will not be heir with my son Yitzchak." And the thing was grievous in Abraham's sight because of his maidservant and because of his son, that he should drive them from him. And Elohim said to Abraham, "Let it not be grievous in your sight because of the child and because of the bondwoman, and all that Sarah has said unto you. Hearken to her words and do them. For in Yitzchak shall your name and seed be called. But as for the son of this bondwoman, I will make him a great nation, because he is of your seed." And Abram rose early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and placed them on his shoulder of Hagar and the child and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Be'er Shavah, and the water in the bottle was spent. And the child thirsted and was not able to go on and fell down. And his mother took him and cast him under an olive tree and went and sat her down over against him at the distance of a bow shot, for she said, "Let me not see the death of my child." And as she sat, she wept. And an angel of Elohim, one of the holy ones, said to her, "Why weep you, Hagar? Arise, take the child and hold him in your hand, for Elohim has heard your voice and has seen the child." And she opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled her bottle with water, and she gave her child to drink. And she arose and went towards the wilderness of Paran. And the child grew and became an archer, and Elohim was with him, and his mother took him a woman from among the daughters of Metzrim. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Nevaoth, for she said, "Yahweh was nigh to me when I called upon him." And it came to pass in the 7th week, in the 1st year thereof, in the 1st month, in his Jubilee, on the 12th of the month, there were voices in heaven regarding Abraham, that he was faithful in all he told him, and that he loved Yahweh, and that in every affliction he was faithful. And the prince of Mastema came and said before Elohim, "Behold, Abraham loves Yitzchak, his son, and he delights in him above all things else. Bid him to offer him as a burnt offering on the altar, and you will see if he will do his command, and you will know if he is faithful in everything wherein you do try him." And Yahweh knew that Abraham was faithful in all his afflictions, for he had tried him through his country and with famine, and he had tried him with the wealth of kings, and he had tried him again through his woman, when she was torn from him, and with circumcision, and he had tried him through Ishmael and Hagar, his maidservant, and when he sent him away. And in everything wherein he had tried him, he was found faithful, and his soul was not impatient, and he was not slow to act, for he was faithful and a lover of Yahweh. And Elohim said to him, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Behold, here I am." And he said, "Take your Yachad, whom you love, even Yitzchak, and go into the high country and offer him on one of the mountains," which in the morning, and saddled his ass and took his 2 young men with him, and Yitzchak, his son, and clave the wood of the burnt offering. And he went to the place on the 3rd day, and he saw the place far away, and he came to a well of water. And he said to his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad shall go yonder, and when we have worshipped, we shall come again to you. And he took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Yitzchak, his son, and he took in his hand the fire and knife, and they went both of them together to that place. And Yitzchak said to his father, Father, and he said, Here I am, my son. And he said unto him, Behold, the fire and the knife and the wood, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering, father? And he said, Elohim will provide himself a sheep for a burnt offering, my son. And he drew near to the place of the mount of Elohim. And he built an altar, and he placed the wood on the altar, and bound Yitzchak his son, and placed him on the wood which was upon the altar, and stretched forth his hand to take the knife to slay Yitzchak his son. And I stood before him, and before the prince Mastema, and Yahuwah said, Bid him not to lay his hand on the lad, nor to do anything to him, for I have shown that he fears Yahuwah, and that I called to him from heaven, and said to him, Abraham, Abraham, and he was terrified, and said, Behold, here I am. And I said to him, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do anything to him, for now I have shown that you fear Yahuwah, and have not withheld your son, your firstborn son, from me. And the prince Mastema was put to shame. And Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, a ram caught by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called that place Yahuwah Yirah, so that it is said, Yahuwah has seen. That is Mount Tesion. And Yahuwah called Abraham by his name a second time from heaven, as he caused us to appear to speak to him in the name of Yahuwah. And he said, By myself have I sworn, says Yahuwah, because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your Yakad, from me, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is in the seashore. And your seed shall inherit the cities of his enemies, and your seed shall all nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice, and I have shown to all that you are faithful unto me, and all that I have said unto you. Go in peace. And Abram went to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beer Sheva, and Abraham dwelt by the well of the oath. And he celebrated this feast every year 7 days with joy, and he called it the feast of Yahuwah, according to the 7 days during which he went and returned in peace. And accordingly has it been ordained and written on the heavenly tablets regarding Yisrael and his seed, that they should observe this feast 7 days with the joy of feast. And on the first year of the first week, in the 42nd Jubilee, Abraham returned and dwelt opposite Hebron and its Quirat Arba 2 weeks of years. And in the first year of the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the days of the life of Sarah were accomplished, and she did in Hebron. And Abraham went to mourn over her and buried her. And we tried him to see if his Ruach were patient, and he were not indulgent in the words of his mouth. And he was found patient in this, and was not disturbed. For in patience of the Ruach, he conversed with the children of Cath to the intent that they should give him a place to bury his dead. And Yahuwah gave him grace before all who saw him. And he besought in gentleness the sons of Heth, and they gave him the land of the double cave over against Mamre, that is Chevron, for 400 pieces of silver. And they besought him, saying, We shall give it to you for nothing. But he would not take it from their hands for nothing, for he gave the price of the place and the money in full. And he bowed down before them twice. And after this, he buried his dead in the double cave. And all the days of his life of Sarah were 127 years. That is 2 jubilees and 4 weeks and 1 year. These are the days of the years of the life of Sarah. This is the 10th trial wherein Abraham was tried, and he was found faithful, patient in the Ruach. And he said not a single word regarding the rumor in the land, how that Elohim had said that he would give it to him and to his seed after him. And he begged a place to bury his dead, for he was found faithful and was recorded on the heavenly tablets as the friend of Elohim. And on the 4th year thereof, he took a woman for his son, Yitzchak, and her name was Rivkah, the daughter of Belial, the son of Nechor, and the brother of Abraham, sister of Laban, and daughter of Bethuel. And Bethuel was the son of Milcah, who was the woman of Nahor, and the brother of Abraham. And Abraham took to himself a third woman, and her name was Keturah, from among the daughters of the household servants, for Hagar had died before Sarah. And she bore him 6 sons, Zimran, and Yakshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Yeshbak, and Shashak, in the 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, in the 2nd year thereof, Rivkah bore to Yishkak 2 sons, Yaakov and Esau. And Yaakov was a smooth and upright man, and Esau was fierce, a man of the field and hairy, and Yaakov dwelt in tents. And the youth grew, and Yaakov learned to write, but Esau did not learn, for he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned war, and all his deeds were fierce. And Abraham loved Yaakov, but Yitzchak loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Yaakov should his name and seed be called. And he called Rivkah and gave commandment regarding Yaakov, for he knew that she too loved Yaakov much more than Esau. And he said to her, My daughter, watch over my son Yaakov, for he shall be in my stead on the earth, and for a blessing in the midst of the children of men, and for the glory of the whole seed of Shem. For I know that Yahuwah will choose him to be a people for possession unto himself above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. And behold, Yitzchak, my son, loves Esau more than Yaakov, but I see that you truly love Yaakov. Add still further to your kindness to him, and let your eyes be upon him in love. For he shall be a blessing unto us on the earth from henceforth into all generations of the earth. Let your hands be strong, and let your heart rejoice in your son Yaakov, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons. He shall be blessed forever, and his seed shall fill the whole earth. If a man can number the sands of the earth, his seed also shall be numbered. And all the blessings wherein Yahuwah has blessed me, and my seed shall belong to Yaakov and his seed always. And in his seed shall my name be blessed, and the name of my fathers, Shem and Noach and Hanak, and Malalel and Enosh and Seth and Adam. All these shall serve to lay the foundations of the heaven, and to strengthen the earth, and to renew all luminaries which are in the expanse. And he called Yaakov before his eyes of Rivkah his mother, and kissed him and blessed him, and said, Yaakov, my Yakad, whom my soul loves, may Elohim bless you from above the expanse, and may he give you all the blessings wherewith he blessed Adam and Hanok and Noach and Shem, and all of the things of which he told me, and all the things which he promised to give me, may he cause to cleave to you and to your seed forever, according to the days of heaven and above the earth. And the Ruach of Mestema shall not rule over you, or over your seed, to turn you from Yahuwah, who is your Elohim from henceforth forever. And may Yahuwah Elohim be your father to you and your firstborn son, and to the people always. Go in peace, my son. And they both went forth together from Abraham. And Rivkah loved Yaakov with all her heart and with all her soul, very much more than Esau. But Yitzchak loved Esau much more than Yaakov. And in the 42nd Jubilee, in the 1st year of the 7th week, Abraham called Yishmael and his 12 sons, and Yitzchak and his 2 sons, and the 6 sons of Keturah and their sons. And he commanded them that they should observe the way of Yahweh, that they should work righteousness and love each other, his neighbor, and act on his manner amongst all men, that they should each so walk with regard to them as to do judgment and righteousness on the earth, and that they should circumcise their sons according to the covenant which he had made with them, and not deviate to the right hand or to the left of all the paths which Yahweh had commanded us, and that we should guard ourselves from the fornication and uncleanness, and renounce from amongst us all fornication and uncleanliness. And if any woman or maid commit fornication among you, burn her with fire, and let them not commit fornication with her after their eyes and their heart, and let them not take to themselves women from the daughters of Canaan, for the seed of Canaan will be rooted out of the land. And he told them of the judgment of the Nephilim and the judgment of the Sodomim, and that they had been judged on account of their wickedness, and had died on account of their fornication and uncleanness and mutual corruption through fornication. And guard yourselves from all fornication and uncleanliness, and from all pollution of sin, lest ye make our name a curse, and your whole life a hissing, and all your sons be destroyed by the sword, and you become accursed like Sedom, and all your remnant as the sons of Amorah. I implore you, my sons, love the Elohim of heaven, and cleave you to his commandments, and walk not after their idols and after their uncleanness, and make not yourselves molten or graven Elohim, for they are vanity, and there is no ruach in them, for they are work of men's hands, and all who trust them trust in nothing. Serve them not worship them, but serve ye Elohim, Elyon, and worship him continuously, and hope for his countenance always, and work uprightness before him, that he may have pleasure in you, and grant you his mercy, and send rain upon you morning and evening, and bless all your works which ye have wrought upon the earth, and bless your bread and your water, and bless the fruit of your womb, and the fruit of your land, and the herd of your cattle, and the flocks of your sheep. And ye will be a blessing on the earth, and all nations of the earth will desire you, and bless your sons in my name, that they may be blessed as I am. And he gave Ishmael and to his sons, and to the sons of Keturah gifts, and sent them away from Yishkak, his son. And he gave everything to Yishkak, his son, and Ishmael and his sons, and the sons of Keturah and their sons went together and dwelt from Paran to the entering of Babel in the land which as towards the east facing the desert. And these mingled with each other, and their name was called Avarim in Yeshmaelim. And in the 6th year of the 7th week of his jubilee, Abram called Yitzchak, his son, and commanded him, saying, I am become old, and I know not the day of my death, and I'm full of days. And behold, I am 175 years old, and throughout all the days of my life I have remembered Yahweh, and sought with my heart to do his will, and walk uprightly in all his ways. My soul has hated idols, given my heart and ruach, that I might observe to do the will of him who created me. For he is the living Elohim, and he is the holy and faithful, and he is the righteous beyond all. And there is with him no accepting of men's persons, and no accepting of gifts, for Elohim is righteous, and executes judgment on all those who transgress his commandments and despise his covenant. And do you, my son, observe his commandments and his ordinances and his judgments, and walk not after the abominations, and after graven images, and after the molten images, and eat no blood at all of animals or cattle or of any bird which flies in heaven. And if you do slay a victim as an acceptable peace offering, slay ye it, and pour out its blood upon the altar, and all the fat of the offering offer on that altar with fine flour, and the meat offering mingled with oil. With this drink offering offer them all together on the altar of burnt offering. It is a sweet savor before Yahuwah. And you will offer the fat of the sacrifice of thank offering on the fire which is upon the altar, and the fat which is upon the belly, and all the fat on the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and all the fat that is upon them, and upon the loins and liver you shall remove together with kidneys, and offer all these for a sweet savor acceptable before Yahweh, with its meat offering and with its drink offering for a sweet savor, the bread of the offering unto Yahweh. And eat its meat on the day and on the second day, and let not the sun on the second day go down upon it till it is eaten, and let nothing be left over for the third day, for it is not acceptable, for it is not approved, and let it no longer be eaten. And for all who eat thereof will bring sin upon themselves. For thus I have found it written in the Sepharim of my forefathers, and in the words of Canaan, and in the words of Noah. And on all your oblations you shall strew salt, and let not salt of the covenant be lacking in all your oblations before Yahweh. And as regards the wood of the sacrifices, beware lest you bring other wood for the altar in addition to these: cypress, bay, almond, fir, pine, cedar, savin, fig, olive, myrrh, laurel, and asolophus. And of these kinds of wood lay upon the altar under the sacrifice such as have been tested as to their appearance, and not lay thereon any split or dark wood, but hard and clean, without fault, a sound and a new growth. And do not lay whereon old wood, for its fragrance is gone, for there is no longer fragrance in it as before. Besides these kinds of wood, there is none other that you shall place on the altar, for the fragrance is dispersed, and the smell of its fragrance goes not up to heaven. Observe this commandment, and do it, my son, that you may be upright in all your deeds, and all the times be clean in your body, and wash yourself with water before you approach to offer on the altar, and wash your hands and your feet before you draw near to the altar. And when you are done sacrificing, wash again your hands and your feet. And let no blood appear upon you, nor upon your clothes. Be on your guard, my son, against blood. Be on your guard exceedingly, cover it with dust, and do not eat any blood, for it is the soul. Eat no blood whatsoever, and take no gifts for the blood of man, lest it be shed with impurity without judgment. For it is the blood that is shed that causes the earth to sin, and the earth cannot be cleansed from the blood of man, save by the blood of him who shed it. And take no present or gift for the blood of man, blood for blood, that you may be accepted before Yahweh El Elyon, for he is the defense of the good, and that you may be preserved from all evil, and that he may save you from every kind of death. I see, my son, that all the works of the children of men are sin and wickedness, and all their deeds are uncleanness, and an abomination, and a pollution, and there is no righteousness with them. Beware, lest you should walk in their ways, and tread in their path, and sin unto death before El Elyon, else he would hide his face from you, and give you back into the hands of your transgression, and root you out of the land, and your seed likewise from heaven, and your name and your seed shall perish from the whole earth. Turn away from all their deeds and all their uncleanness, and observe the ordinance of El Elyon, and do his will, and be upright in all things. And he will bless you in all your deeds, and will raise up from you a plant of righteousness through all the earth, throughout all generations of the earth. And in my name and in your name shall not be forgotten under the heaven forever. Go, my son, in peace. May El Elyon, my Elohim, and your Elohim strengthen you to do his will, and may he bless all your seed and the remnant of your seed for the generations forever, with all righteousness blessing, that you may be a blessing on all the earth. And he went out from him rejoicing.